What are some really dangerous things most people don't realize are dangerous?
Visiting the wrong doctor. The general public will never know what makes a good doctor and what makes a bad one. The standard of care you get from one hospital to the next can be life-changing.
My daddy finally switched away from his 85-year-old doctor that refuses to retire. New doctor was floored at how mismanaged my daddy's medication was, and my daddy went from exhausted and needing naps every few hours to the best health he's been in 20 years with a normal sleep schedule.
By process of elimination, somewhere there is the worst doctor. And the most frightening part about that is someone has an appointment with them tomorrow. Said by my boy GC.
Question: what do you call a student who graduated last from med school? Doctor. Literally for the next 50 years of their careers. I had that guy for a year or two. He was nearing retirement with a nearly new stethoscope and used a part and pen to take very few notes. I guess I'm lucky to be alive.
Driving while not getting enough sleep.
Man, even just driving plane is dangerous. People out here now knowing what's left foot, right foot up, foot down, foot.
43,000 people in the US alone die in car accidents every year. Imagine if over 200 airliners fell out of the sky every year, almost 4 per week, no one would ever get in a plane again.
Yeah, driving in general. If that's all people were doing, it probably wouldn't be so dangerous, but it's so normal for folks that they tune out, their minds wander, and they start looking at their phones or staring at clouds. The next thing you know, someone in a Nissan Altima has slammed on their brakes because of a squirrel, a trailer jackknifes in response, and now there's a 36-car pileup and a 2-hour delay. My oh my. It's always someone in a Nissan with paper plates riding on donuts down her in Texas.
One of my scariest memories is trying to drive home from work one night while sleep deprived. I used to work in a movie theater, back in the days when midnight premieres were a thing. One day I worked my normal closing shift, which was 5:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., but then I offered to stay late with the midnight shift to help close since 12 a.m. shows were always kind of chaotic. All said and done, I didn't get up there until nearly 3 a.m. It was about 25 minutes to get home, and it didn't take long for me to realize I shouldn't be on the road. But I didn't know what else to do, so I continued. I took back roads home so there was no one else on the road, which was good. I did all the stay awake tricks I knew, pinch myself, open the windows, play loud music. Nothing helped. But I didn't know what else to do, so I continued. About 15 minutes from home the hallucination started. I saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road, but when I slowed down and took a second look, he was gone. I swerved to avoid 3 different raccoons that didn't end up being there. But I didn't know what else to do, so I continued. The last thing I remember from that commute is driving past an apartment building where some friends of mine lived. That apartment building is about 3 minutes from where I lived at the time. The next thing I knew, I was waking up. The sun was shining. I was in the driver's seat of my car, but the seat was reclined. I'd put the car in park, but the engine was still running. It was shortly after 6 a.m., meaning about 2.5 hours had passed. To this day, it's probably the freakiest experience I've ever had. I swore then and there to never drive that tired again. Subsequent late nights at the theater, I slept in the building. On 1 or 2 occasions, I started driving home, but ended up pulling over to sleep. But I never have repeated that mistake, and I never will. I know I am extremely lucky that I didn't hurt myself or someone else. I didn't total my car. I didn't even hit a mailbox or a trash can. I knew I might not be so fortunate if I pushed my luck a second time.
Water current and waterfalls are two that kill people all the time. Even a gentle-looking river can be very deceptive if there's enough water moving along, people, cars, etc. Rip currents at the beach. Flash floods. Water seems gentle, but it gives $0 about anything in its path. The top of waterfalls are super deceptive with the combination of powerful current and slippery rocks that look like a beautiful place to grab a picture. But they can kill you in an instant.
scariest example of a gentle-looking stream that is one of the most dangerous in the world is the Strid, up there in England.
Not sleeping. That shit will ruin your mental state and just ruin your overall functioning body.
By far, losing sleep is the worst side effect from meth abuse. A well-rested, slept-in, nourished, hydrated meth head can tweak for decades until it destroys your heart, brain, and family.
Combining different cleaning products can lead to toxic gas in the room.
I know a guy who ended up with severe chlorine burns in his lungs due to an incident while he was cleaning. Chemicals from another room in the factory mixed with the bleach in the drain trench in his room, forming free chloride. He ended up with a forced retirement due to disability, and the mildest of airborne irritants can incapacitate him through coughing fits.
At the beach, riptide, if you don't spot them and don't know how to get out of one, it can be terrifying and deadly.
The advice of the RNLI is if you are caught in a riptide, do not try and swim against it as you will exhaust yourself. Stay calm and float to assess the situation. If the water is too deep to stand and you can swim, swim across the direction of the current, parallel to the shore until you are free. Use any breaking waves to help you get back to the beach. If you need to catch your breath first, relax and float for around 60 to 90 seconds. Some rip currents recirculate rather than flow out to sea, and may bring you closer to shore.
Once we start calling sunburn radiation burns, people will start taking it seriously. Not only is the convertible slower than the QEEE, it gonna smack you hard with a nice dose of poison, for only $10,000 more.
One summer I was roofing and put sunscreen everywhere, but my nose I ended up getting second-degree burns, and now have small holes/scars on my nose. Skin whiter than plaster, but what a heck, man.
Dull kitchen knives.
Bro, just dull knives in general. To make them cut through whatever you're working on, you have to use a lot of extra force, increasing the risk of a sudden slip and slice of the skin meat.
Garage door springs. I'm warning all y'all right now. Them boys got over 100 pounds of force that can be released in a split second.
I recently had one break. Sounded like a shotgun going off in my garage.
Cheaping out on tires for your vehicle. Don't need to be a race car driver, but still get at least a V or W rated tire.
Man, the first time I bought a full set of Michelin tires, I was like, WTF have I been missing? The difference between those and whatever I could afford at Walmart or wherever was insane. Have only bought those ever since. Tires are the only thing letting you touch the ground, especially when you're moving 120 feet across the road every second.
Cheap, rickety cricket, ladders. The cake not fat enough to cushion the fall.
I came to say this. Falls of all kinds can be deadly, but even a few extra feet off the ground significantly increases the force you'll hit with. Even a small 2 or 3 foot ladder deserves attention.
It's sad, but I know a guy who fell off a ladder only a few feet in the air and died. He was an extremely safe worker, but no one really knows what happened. The guy he was working with went into the next room for a minute and came back to find him dead on the floor with the ladder still up. It was an extremely sad situation.
It's another one, but driving while distracted, despite all the new billboards telling folks to get off the phone. Crazy surreal one was. Better left unread than dead.
Antifreeze. It's way more poisonous than you probably think it is, and it has a sweet taste that attracts cats and children. If your cat laps up a teaspoonful, they're pretty much already dead.
Fun fact, you can drink whiskey or just alcohol to offset the effects if you accidentally drink antifreeze, somehow. Shout out to my boy Morgan Jones for learning that so the group can continue to fight the Walking Dead.
Unsecured cutting boards. Put a dishcloth under it or something. Make sure it doesn't slip.
There's a newish trend among woodworkers called fractal burning or Lichtenberg burning, where you use electricity to create this cool lightning-like burns across wood. Problem is, it's extremely dangerous. There has already been at least one person who died trying to do it, probably more, but I only remember hearing of one specifically. There's a ton of videos of everyday people doing this, but if you slip up just slightly, you're gonna electrocute yourself.
Going along with that, hiring the cheapest electrician to change the basement fuse box. It's gonna make your house go kablooey.
The ocean. It gets up to 20 feet waves down there in Tahiti. Enough said.